My name is David Kunian. I'm the music curator for the Louisiana State Museum and the New Orleans Jazz Museum. The New Orleans Jazz Museum is a museum dedicated to all aspects of New Orleans jazz, from the beginning to the current state of affairs for New Orleans jazz. The original museum was in the room opposite us, opposite the hallway, until Katrina. And it never reopened after Katrina, and everything kind of went into storage. We chose this location because, first of all, it's a Louisiana State Museum property. Second of all, this is also where the New Orleans Jazz Museum was, when it started. So it was here first, and in order to have continuity, we figured this was the best place to do it. In general, when you come to visit the New Orleans Jazz Museum, you can come right now to see a couple exhibits. We have one on Pete Fountain that I just curated, and we also have one on Louis Armstrong and his relationship with New Orleans, both when he lived here and after he left. That is up for another about month or so. And after that, we'll have a Women in Jazz exhibit that will open up in August. And we are also working on opening the big exhibit of the entire kind of New Orleans jazz experience. We've had a lot of exhibits in the past. We've had a couple exhibits of photography. Keeping Time was one of kind of the best photographs of the music collection. We also had one called Time Takes Its Toll, where we brought out several instruments played by folks like Sidney Bechet and Kid Ory and Cy Frazier, kind of the instruments that we are looking to get conserved because they're not in the greatest shape. So we called it Time Takes Its Toll because time has taken its toll on these instruments, and we would like to get them back to kind of fighting shape. That is the wax figure of Mr. Pete Fountain. We are right now in the middle of the one-room exhibit on Pete Fountain that we opened up in April of 2017. It has records and photographs and even some bobbleheads that his walking crew, known as the Half Fast Marching Club, say that 10 times fast and you'll see what I'm talking about. Some of the bobbleheads and doubloons from that. And behind me is the wax figure of Pete Fountain that was in the Musée Conti. That was the wax museum on Conti Street that closed about 8 months ago. And we tracked it down in a storage facility in deepest Marrero across the river. And that is actually also one of his clarinets that the wax figure is holding too. So we kind of figure it gives a nice little touch to the exhibit. Obviously, we're partnering with the state. We're partnering also with the Louisiana Endowment for the Humanities on several things. We also partner with the Louisiana Museum Foundation and the Friends of the Cabildo to put on performances and try and raise money. On the third floor, we have the Mint performance venue. We do lots of different things in the performance venue. We have bands, everything from kind of traditional jazz bands to modern jazz bands. We've had some rock and roll and some rhythm and blues. We also do lectures in there and films. For instance, every year right before the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Festival, we do a night of showing old films of the New Orleans Jazz Fest from the late 60s and early 70s. Next on the pipeline is we're doing a Women in Jazz. That will be 2 rooms following kind of the history of women in jazz in New Orleans from the early days up until now. And then we're also working on an exhibit for 2018 that will be about Professor Longhair, the great piano player. It's his centennial in 2018, so we're going to do an exhibit on him with recordings and film, and possibly we will be able to find one of his pianos if we're lucky. I have a couple leads on that. And we'll also be I want to do a day-long symposium on him with interviews and people playing Professor Longhair's music. You can make a donation to neworleansjazzmuseum.org. And you can also, call me. I have an email, dkunian@crt.la.gov if you need more information or if you're interested in donating. My name is David Kunian. I'm the music curator for the Louisiana State Museum, and this is MyScene TV.